the best Kiwi event in New Zealand, this.
Crossing New Zealand in 1 or 2 days.
Why do I do it? Because I love it.
3, 2, 1, go!
Hi team, welcome to the Kathmandu Coast to Coast podcast, the podcast helping to get you from the west coast of the South Island all the way across to the east coast by running, biking and kayaking across some of New Zealand's most famous landscapes. The podcast is brought to you by Team CP, your endurance coaching specialists. I'm your host, Richard Greer. Angus Petrie is unfortunately unavailable tonight, so we're going to be leading the ship, and we've got some fantastic guests for you tonight. We've got Kelly Barber, Thomasina, who's Matt Calman's teammate, and then also, not Matt Calman, Matt Bateman's teammate. We've also got Matt Calman on the show as well. So tonight's show is all about how you actually complete the coast to coast, because ultimately that's what we're trying to achieve. Whether at the front of the field or trying to win the thing, if it's your first time, actually getting to the finish line is your ultimate goal. So tonight we're going to talk to 2 published authors and that have actually written books about training and racing the coast to coast, and sort of trying to pick out a couple of their key points about what we all need to know to actually have a really good weekend and make the most of it. So the first person that we've got talking to is Kelly Barber. Kelly Barber, in his book, tells a story of how he found out where his limits really lie. Having decided that he needed some adventure in his life, Kelly trained for months to transform himself from an average out of shape average Joe to an athlete capable of taking on the race's gruelling mixture of cycling, running and kayaking. So Kelly, are you in the background there? How are you getting on?
Yeah, I am, Richard. Good, thanks. Really good. How
excellent. So tell us a little bit of background, Kelly. So you've done this race a few times now, and you've written a book. The book was published in 2006 or 2008?
2008, yeah. And reprinted a couple of times. It sold, I think, over 4,000 copies, which was a bit of a surprise. But yeah, I was a reasonably handy athlete at school, but sort of that all got washed away under a swamp of beer and cigarettes. Ended up smoking, and it kind of got challenged by a mate to do the coast to coast when I was in my mid-30s. And I don't know, I was just ready for it at that time in my life, and dedicated basically 11 months to in my preparation. And really just had a goal of just getting to the finish. But I pretty soon realized that actually making the start line is probably the first goal. You know, making sure you're fit enough, making sure you're careful in your training, you don't overtrain. And I mean, I'm just about to do my 17th coast to coast in a team with my son. And I've made just about every mistake along the way. You know, I've got dehydrated. I've tried to eat using Staguni's regime instead of my own. You know, I've run too fast. You know, I spent the first 20 minutes absolutely shattered and paid for it all day. So it's the great thing about what you do and what experience gives you is that you make less mistakes. And you know, I tell people, look, there's 100 mistakes you can make. If you minimize it down to just 3 or 4 little ones, you'll probably do well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of this event, isn't it? Because it's so tricky to get everything actually lined up, from yourself, from your support crew, from the environment, from everything that's going on. It's that mastery thing, isn't it? That we have to say that we've had that perfect day, which is pretty crazy. But why do you come back every year 17 times, Kelly? It's a big part of your year, isn't it? February, like you feel a bit weird if you don't turn up.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I just love it. It's affected my life in so many positive ways. You know, people probably say I'm a bit ADD. You know, all the training kind of settled me down a little bit, and I began to sort of perform better in my work, and I think be a better dad and all those sort of things. And I just love it. I love the people. I love the adventure. I just go along each year to sort of cement the changes in my life. And it's such a positive thing. And you're going through such positive environments, positive places. I mean, I've been to the World Triathlon Champs. I wanted to have a stab at that, but I've only been once, you know. I just go back to the coast because it's there's nothing that gives me that feeling like the Coast to Coast does.
Yeah,
it's
that
powerful.
shot in the arm every February to set you up for the year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like I can do anything for about 3 weeks, and then I'm tired.
That's right. You're firing me up just talking to you. That's good. You've mentioned about all those challenges you've had and all those mistakes you've made and how badly it's gone. I guess, as I talked about at the start, this show is all about how do we actually finish the Coast to Coast. And obviously, you've made lots of mistakes, so you've got lots of learnings. You've done it 17 times. So if you were to summarize that, what were some of your key things that you'd go, okay, well, here's my sort of top few sort of tips or things that actually allow me to go and actually really enjoy the event and have a good time?
Yeah, good point. I mean, probably be realistic. I work out how much training I've done during the year and what shape I'm in. A couple of months out, I know generally how it's going to be. And if I'm super fit, then I'll try and push reasonably hard. If I'm not, I'll be more careful and more cautious. I try to spend the first half of each discipline kind of getting into it. I used to watch videos of Steve Gurney, and he would say, "Oh, never push when you're not feeling it. Wait until you feel it." So, every leg is challenging, and every leg is long, and I just think you need to be careful as you sort of start out, unless you're really prepared for that crazy speed at the start. Be smart.
Because that's the thing, like your energy levels go in waves, don't they? You have good periods and you have bad periods. You've got to get through the bad ones to have the good ones, and you've got to kind of make hay while the sun shines, but you've got to just look after yourself, because you always have bad periods, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, often now when I have bad periods, I look at, where am I at nutrition-wise? So I follow the Keith Murray regime when I'm running, and use a lot of like Raro and basic drinks like that. And I make up sachets as I run. And if I'm starting to falter and feel tired, that's the first thing I look at. Do I need to drink 400 mils of sugary water, and then I'm up and away again? More often than not, within 5 minutes. It's that it's almost always related to to my nutrition, and that's probably the thing that you can take care of the most to make sure you get to the finish line. When you're really flagging, it's probably nutrition related.
Yeah, good. So you talked about being realistic, and that's about the goals you set as well, isn't it, for yourself? Is a big part of that, and that's important now. We're a few months out from 100 days for the actual Coast to Coast as of today. That's an official sort of count, and it is setting those goals now to set yourself up for that, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. It's all in how you prepare, and I think people have to be realistic. I try to be very realistic. And make sort of realistic goals, and if it's all moving too fast around me, then I let it go, and I just make sure I get to the finish line. That's what I'm looking for, is to get to the finish line. And a few people don't make it for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, good. I'm going to flash a picture up for those people listening. Do you want to tell us who this is?
Oh, yeah, that's Kenny Smith. He's a very inspiring guy. He's been an amazing race driver. I think he started in the 1950s, and still racing, and maybe even still racing now, but was racing a few years ago. And he said something really interesting that I never forgot. Well, I'm going to try and paraphrase it, but he basically said, if you if you want to get old and then go and hang out in rest homes and stuff like that. But that sort of stuff scares the shit out of me. I don't want to go there. He said. So yeah, like he's out with the young people doing racing, and he's raced against some of New Zealand's greatest racers. So, well, I'm 56, and I want to keep going as long as I can in the Coast to Coast. It makes me feel alive, and it's the sort of thing that I never regret. I worry about it. I worry about the river every year. I worry about lots of things. But if you just keep forging on, you'll get there. You'll break them down. I mean, the first time I raced, I couldn't believe that I could race for 6 or 7 hours. But I did. I got there. Lots of other people have got there before me, and I will again. And the people doing this race will too.
Yeah, good. And it's about staying in the now, isn't it? What can I do right now? I don't have to worry about 6 or 7 hours time. I've just got to figure out now. And as you've mentioned, like actually, whatever you're drinking, have some of that. Whatever you're eating, have some of that. Sort of cheer on the person next to you. They might cheer you back, or they probably will cheer you back again. And just sort of focus on the now, and you get through those bits, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yep. Yep, fantastic. So what's the goal this time around, Kelly? You're doing it with your son?
Yeah, so I'm racing with my son. My knee's been playing up, so I'm not gonna push it maybe another year. So we're just gonna try and do the best we can. You know, like we don't really focus on the outcome. We just focus on doing each leg as well as we can, and then whatever happens at the end is good enough. You know.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we'll come somewhere, maybe we won't. But yeah, we'll just focus on doing the best we can, and we're both going to be reasonably fit this time, I think.
Yeah, good. So, but within that, are you kind of competitive? Do you still kind of put it out there? Like you mentioned, like back at school days, you tended to go pretty well. Like every now and again, the old red mist comes down, and you're like, right, this is my time.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, it never goes away. You know, that competitiveness never goes away. And if I wasn't trying to do the best I could, I would feel really disappointed. A few years ago, I did. I think I got second in the over 50s, and then a year later, I think I got third in the over 50s. And they're the two hardest races that I've ever done in many respects, because I'm old and it hurts to push myself. And I pushed myself so hard for those 2 days that I really found it hard. I came home to my wife and said, my God, you know, it's really hard when you're older and you're still trying to push, you know. But I feel very, very satisfied with those 2 races, you know. Second and third in my age group, you know. It took me years and years to do it, but there you go.
Hey, but you're happy with the effort at the end of the day, whatever happens. And even this year, there'll be bits that you're like, hey, I'm really stoked with that because I did really well. So, and that, at the end of the day, as long as you're happy with that, you've had a good day out, haven't you?
Exactly. That's what it's all about, you know.
So to summarize, Kelly, we haven't got you for very long. To putting it out there to the world, what's Kelly Barber's couple of key kind of takeaways? Make sure you remember this before you, as you're standing on the start line or as you're preparing for the Coast to Coast 2021.
Yeah, it's racing for, you know, 13, 14, 15 hours. Always keep that in mind. You know, make sure you've got energy, that you keep going. And if you're starting to fall apart, stop and have something to drink or eat. You know, keep your nutrition up, you know, because it's those energy levels that you need to be high, and you need to keep them up all the time. So if you're flagging, it's probably that your nutrition is a little low. And just be realistic, you know, you will get there. Just keep plugging away.
Yep. Brilliant. And yeah, fantastic. Well done. And also Mike Ward. I just want to touch on that. Mike Ward, he's a person dear to your heart. He's kind of your Kenny Smith, isn't he?
He is, yeah. So when I was a teenager, I was in a Nelson Harrier Club, and Mike was one of the adults there, and he's one of the only blokes that would come and talk to the teenagers. And I never forgot him. And then he started doing the Coast to Coast, and I don't know whether people know, but he did 28 Coast to Coast in a row. You know, I've always really admired him. I still catch up with him now. I go to Nelson. He's just really inspiring, because he would go to the Coast to Coast ready or not, whether he was fit enough or not. And it was just an essential part of his summer. He was an extraordinary guy. Like, ended up as a Green MP in Parliament for 3 years. He won the Supreme Award at the Wearable Arts, you know, competition. I mean, he's a very eclectic range of tastes, and just, you know, one of those real old school coast to coasters. You know, you treat young people well, and they'll treat you well when you're older. You know, so I always go and visit them when I go up to Nelson and give him a hug and have a chat to him. I find him really inspiring, you know.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, good stuff. I haven't had a lot to do with Mike, but he was in one of the races that I did back in the day when I did it with my wife. Actually, it's the worst ever paddle I've ever had. I think I saw Mike about 5 times on the river. I'd paddle past him, then I'd break my boat. I'd have to get to the side, take my boat back up again, get in the river, fell out in a rapid because I had all this water sloshing around. Yeah, and he just paddle past me again as I'm trying to paddle hard and trying to do this thing and taking these dodgy lines and things like that. But that's what it is it? Just play your own thing, just play it safe, get down well, and enjoy it.
Yeah, and if things change, you know, change your expectations. You know, like I had real trouble in my boat one year in the one-day race, but when my foot peg slipped forward, and I had to stop and try and fix it. But I just changed my goals. You know, it's like, we'll get to the end of this leg, and then we'll see again. You know.
Exactly. No, that's awesome. Good stuff. Well done, Kelly. Thank you for your time. Thanks for your energy. Look forward to seeing you on the start line in 2021 and sharing another fantastic Coast to Coast.
Oh, thanks, Richard. Really enjoyed it, and looking here forward to hearing from Matt Calman, a good friend of mine and a wonderful coast-to-coaster.
Good job. Well done. Thanks, Kelly.
All right. Take care.
Good stuff. And let's jump straight into adding Matt. Matt, you've got the Coast to Coast T-shirt. That means you must have finished the race, eh?
Well, actually, this was 2019, and I guess we'll talk about that. But no, I didn't finish in 2019, but I can share a few gems from my 2 years and the outcome I had this year. So
that's right. So, I mean,
great to be here. Thank you.
The story of the show is how do you finish the Coast to Coast? And you're pretty well experienced and you've got some good angles to be able to come from for that, because 2019 didn't exactly go to plan. Like a lot of times when we talk on this podcast, it is people that are doing super well and really, really amazing athletes and things like that. But tell us about 2019. It didn't go to plan. I'll let you take it from there.
All right, I will. So 2019, it was my first Coast to Coast. I had, after the first few months of furious training, learning how to ride a road bike and learning how to kayak, pretty poorly, I might add, I decided to maybe do the 1 day instead of the 2 day. There's a backstory. It'll take too long, so I won't go into that. But somehow I decided that might be a good idea.
Just get it done in one. There's often
I don't regret.
I don't have to worry about starting again the next day. I'll just carry on. It'll be good.
That was actually a big part of the rationale there, Richard. I don't regret it, by the way. But yeah, like if I had my time again, I'd do it all the same. But I also think there's a great advantages of doing the 2 day first as well. But anyway, so I actually Kelly took me under his wing in 2018, and we had coffee after coffee. He would write in his book all these river diagrams of all the rock gardens and different features and all the corners and the bluffs, and it was just, he was amazing. Like the passion that man has for the Coast to Coast, and he shared it so beautifully with me. Anyway, so the race in 2019 didn't pan out. I was very, very fit, but I guess it's the learning curve. You're learning how to kayak for the first time. You're putting so much energy into just doing that well enough to get through the gorge reasonably proficiently, and all that other stuff. I guess I was the fittest I've ever been in my whole life, but I underestimated, and I guess it's that lack of experience. I underestimated the first bike ride. I got into a very fast. My coach, Karen Muller, she told me all through the year, like it was ringing in my ears on the start line through that first bike ride, don't go crazy on the first bike ride. And
but you feel so good,
despite the advice, that's very good advice. Despite the advice, I think I chased a bunch ahead. I blew myself up going up this first little hill, and I found myself at the front somehow. The guy that was in front of me saw the hill, and he jumped back to the back of the line, and then I'm at the front all of a sudden. Like, okay, I'll do my turn. Oh, good. So I jumped down onto my bars, which is not probably good technique up the first hill of the day, and I absolutely powered my way up this hill. I looked behind me, and 30 meters back, the bunch was all just like laughing, and so then I drifted back. I made every mistake under the sun. I was in a group of about 8 people for most of that first bike ride, who were just far, far faster than me. And actually, at the 30k mark, I started speaking up, saying it was a bit hot for me, lads. I'm just going to pull back, and they all said, "Yeah, we've all been thinking that." And
so how did that? What happened from as a result of that? How did you go into the run?
1 kilometer into the run, both hamstrings went like bullet shots. I was on the ground. I couldn't move. I was in absolute agony, the worst agony of my life. I eventually hobbled to my feet, but there ensued 6 hours basically of on and off cramps up my quads and my calves and my hand. My body decided that day, no, you're not going to do it. I was supremely fit. I'd done a New Year's Day 10-hour back-to-back goat pass and the gorge.
Sorry, Matt. To grab your point there is to actually, you're as fit as you've ever been after 2 hours of exercise, 2.5 hours of exercise. You're completely cramped up and you're kind of writhing in pain, and that's kind of almost your day done.
Just think about Mark Richardson in India. Mark Richardson in India, both hamstrings going, he's on the ground. That was actually me. I laughed at Mark, but I'm not laughing anymore. No, it's a cycle. I believe, cramp, people say, oh, you didn't take enough salt, you didn't do that. No, I'd never cramped in training. I'd done massive days. I think it's just that race intensity. It's just the pent up emotion that you're not aware of, and that's what grabbed me. But anyway, it affected my race, and it meant that I got onto the river. I was the second to last person to make it before the cut off on the river at about 2:45, I think it was. And the slowest river just about of coast history in my old in my Barracuda sea kayak wasn't a good combination. I had a very good paddle. It was the paddle of my life. Almost, but I was about 20 minutes. So I got to the Red Bridge, and I knew I was about 20 to 25 minutes out of time, and you're not making that up. It's an hour from there to Woodstock, and I was out of time.
And that's the thing, is that sometimes the course is more forgiving, and sometimes it's really hard, isn't it? It's a bit like climbing Mount Everest. It allows you sometimes, but then sometimes it doesn't. One year there was only 3 elite women finish, and so that's a whole nother level again. So on a really low river, you've actually just behind the game, so you actually got on to get on that river at a reasonable time. So how did you take those learnings and apply that to 2020 earlier this year in the summer, to change things up, to go, right, Matt, how are we going to do this? What were your key things?
Okay, so I decided I was going to have another go at it. I decided it was important for me to finish. So I decided to take some pressure off myself. I decided early in my campaign over the winter, I get on the river a lot more, and I actually got on the river with a lot of mates, and we did regular trips on the Lower Waimak and Woodstock and the gorge. Eventually we got through the gorge. Spent a lot of time improving my kayaking. I spent a lot of the winter in the Gym at Eden project, doing Olympic weightlifting and HIIT training, which I believe really did toughen my body up and made my legs very strong. Also something new to keep the brain ticking over. And then I started training properly on basically the 1st of September. I decided to start my build up for the race later. I also trained a lot more with other people to keep things fresh. And I did a lot more bike run brick sessions, big bricks. Okay, so eventually, I built up that. I knew I could do the river. Psychologically, I knew I could do the race. But I really improved that transition to the point where I felt really good coming off the bike and running 3 hours in the hills, and I felt strong, and I felt like the foundation was good. I also went vegan for the last 6 months before Coast, which for me really worked. I'd seen the Game Changers, I think it's called. I'm a knee-jerk person. I need to see something like a documentary to quit Facebook or to do this or whatever. And but it really, I'd heard other people it had worked for as well. Simone Faulkner, I think, had told me that had worked for her. And it really did suit me, that diet. I had really good quality training sessions and really good recovery and less inflammation, and I just felt absolutely fantastic on it. And I don't know why I gave it up, but there you go.
So maybe we need to keep you honest on that one. So with those changes in training, because you can train really well, just like you did the first year, but how did you execute it differently? Because that's what it's all about at the end of the day, isn't it?
I also did a little bit of mental planning work with Dr. Barbara Cameron. I did some BWRT, which is brain working recursive therapy, which is a hypnosis style therapy, because of the psychological aspect that I think is a real factor for me over the years of cramping. So that really helped, and a lot of it was visualization and it being in situations of not feeling great or cramping, and then visualizing your way out of it. I actually cramped in exactly the same spot in pretty much the same way, not quite as severely in year 2 this year. So I closed my eyes and meditated as I ran along the farm track. So it was before the first river crossing, and I just went into myself and just kind of reset things. And then after that, I made a really clear decision to stop. I had cramp spray. I was much better prepared. I prepared for all the things that could go wrong. I had some medication. I can't remember what I took, bombs of magnesium, and then just carried on. And I had a beautiful run, a really good run. I felt strong. It was a much different year. I was always further ahead of the game than I was, and I didn't panic so much. I think that's a key. Having that experience, and also just decide, don't make a minor problem a major. Like the first year, my body just gave up completely, and it just lurched from one disaster to the next in that run. But just nipping that thing in the bud early and having that mental preparation really helped me face that adversity and carry on through it. And also expecting to cramp. I expected to feel bad at some point. Right, the first year I expected to coast through, and I was so fit and I was so strong. The second year, if you expect these things to happen, they're not a surprise. It was a real shock to me the first year. The second year it wasn't. I was like, right, I've been here before. Let's try a new approach, and it worked really well.
So obviously, paced yourself differently on the bike. You managed to. You were prepared. You changed your mindset. You got through that mountain run in good shape. You had a good paddle. You had also. So let's take ourselves all the way.
It was very windy, Richard. It was a very windy paddle.
Horrible, wasn't it?
It was hard. It was awful. The southerlies just smashed us. Well, smashed everyone. But yeah. Tough.
Yeah. So obviously those skills that you've learnt, you're prepared for that. You're going to go well there. So taking it all the way to the end, you've paddled. You've got through this. I can finish this thing. Tell us about your story on the final bike ride.
The final bike ride, I got into transition with about 40 minutes up my sleeve. I was comfortable. I actually had about 25 minutes just recovering from that cold. It was so cold. Yeah. Whereas a lot of people came through and passed me. I got on the road. I had the Taylor and Charlie car behind me actually, and I was feeling like vomiting for the first 15 Ks. So I got off my bike, stopped, had some food, and then I had a beautiful period after I ate, and I felt really good. I had about 30 Ks to the 50 K mark. I decided I'll eat the rest of my food, jump off, go to the toilet, whatever. During that middle 30 Ks, I got down the bars and I had a really strong period, and I was feeling fantastic. And I was thinking ahead to glory and finishing this race and thinking, God, being last place, no one remembers second to last, but everyone will remember last place. This is good for me. And good. I'd passed this guy called James Holt. He was in the shadows on the side of the road, and then I'd lost the old Taylor and Charlie guy. And then a medic car pulled in behind me for the rest of that ride to the 50K mark. We got there, and they told me that this fella down the road, I asked about him, and they said he's not doing very well. He's struggling a bit. And they mentioned to me it would be good if you could ride with him. And so we waited, and I checked that was all right with the officials, and you're not allowed to draft on that last bike ride in the one day. Yep. And they said, yep. And so we rode the last 20 Ks together. And it's been in the, James talked to the media a few days later, and I'm sure he would have made it to the finish line. He said he was going to make it to the finish line. I think he said either he was going to get to the finish line or hospital or both, or he didn't know which was going to happen first, but he was going to keep going. So I believe he would have made it, but I think the riding together did, he said it did lift that mental burden, and the time passed a lot quicker, and we were just chatting along, going at a nice, easy pace. And it was a beautiful moment. We're coming to the finish line together, and just to see him finish was wonderful. And I think it kind of, the opportunity I got to kind of help James was something that I talk about a lot in my book, how the race has helped me through my depression. And that helping others is a real key component of what really helped me with my own inner stuff, that outward looking rather than looking inward. And that was just a really good chance. And like I try to do, like since the last few years, I've tried to do that a lot more, to take those opportunities that come up to help others. And I think the race is a great example. There was so many times I saw other people helping others, and I've received so much help over the last few years from people like Kelly, who share their time and their passion for the race, to out in training, you help each other, and practical and also in just ways of support, just being there for someone or lending support or encouragement. So yeah, I got a lot more out of it than James did, in terms of the satisfaction of seeing him finish. And it was almost like I was helping myself from the year before, where I didn't make it, and I wanted to see him make it, because I'd actually met him the week before paddling Woodstock. Just randomly he turned up to the river, and me and a couple of guys I didn't know and Byron Mann were paddling Woodstock, and we realised when we were biking together, he'd said something about how he had quit his job for 3 months or 2 months to come down and train on the course. And I realised it was James from the river. And when I saw him on the river in the Barracuda and the sea kayak, and it was his first year, I just thought of myself, and I really hoped that he was going to make it. So it was really beautiful that we actually we got thrown back together. It was almost like it was meant to be. And I think, it's a wonderful thing to have happened.
Yeah, good stuff, man. That's so good. I mean, to take that experience, that shared experience, and just helping others, and then that makes you feel good as well. I'll just quickly throw to your book as well. It's a book that I've got on the shelf and read. Fantastic read for anyone wanting to do the longer stay, in terms of your ups and downs, how you dealt with your depression, and how the Coast to Coast has been a fantastic tool to be able to look after yourself and sort of conquer that, as you mentioned in your book. So just to summarize, so make sure you go and buy the book. What's one key thing, just to summarize before we jump to Tomo, that you want to make sure you get across to everyone else that's looking to do the Coast to Coast, that you want to get across to help them out? What's the most important point?
The most important point is just bloody enjoy it. These experiences don't happen to you every year, every day. It's a special thing to be able to go and do this race. I would say soak it up, enjoy it. I would say pace yourself in the right moments, and just learn from those around you, and just bloody have a great time out there. That's all I want to say, really. Just enjoy it.
Brilliant. No, that's fantastic. Well done, Matt. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your energy. And looking forward to the hearing what the next adventure is in time.
Thanks, Richard. Cheers.
Good job. Well done. Thanks heaps. Nice work. And we're going to jump straight to Tomo. So Tomo, you are Matt Bateman's partner. We've talked to you a couple of times on the podcast so far, but we thought we'd ditch Matt because Matt sort of is keen and enthusiastic. We want to actually hear a little bit of your story, how you're going. So this is your first time at the Coast to Coast. You and Matt signed up sort of the day after. We're going to do the tandem team. You've had a hockey season, so you've been full on sort of into that, and now sort of getting into your training. And last time we talked, you had just broken your hand, hadn't you? So, I mean, that part of this whole journey is it doesn't all go to plan, and it's a matter of getting over some of those hurdles. So tell us about where you're at the moment. I want to see that there's no cast on your hand. And, so where are you at the moment? What's been happening?
Right, so I am free of a cast. It's 2 weeks ago that I got my cast off. So I'm kind of basically getting back into it all. We had our last two kayaking for our grade 2 yesterday and today. So I was able to kayak. It's a bit swollen today, but it's fine.
It's good that you'll still be able to grip the paddle, because that's pretty full on that your hand's able to do that only 2 weeks out of a cast. It's good.
Yeah. So it's just more basically building, because when I was in the cast, I couldn't really actually do much apart from sit on a spin bike. And as well just run, and they didn't really advise us running in the hills, so I just had to stay around on the flats and hope that I didn't hit myself or injure myself anymore.
Yeah. Brilliant. So it's, you've been out on the river today. Matt steering. I think there was a bit of an altercation on the Avon about geese and things, wasn't it? There was, let's change this up a little bit. So how does he go steering down the river on the Waimak? You were doing, was it part of your grade 2 course? Was that right?
Yep. So he's actually fine. I kind of trust him more steering than me. I am definitely a backseat driver on that, but he's definitely got a little bit more understanding of where to go, and we kind of work quite well if we just keep talking to each other. So if I see something maybe a bit more better, or say, hey, can maybe go a bit right or go a bit left.
Well, any good backseat driver give some feedback to the driver. That's important. And any good grade 2 course, we're going to have wet hair at the end of it. We're not going to be completely dry, are we? So how did you guys go?
We did quite well. So we went down Woodstock yesterday and today. Today was a lot faster because the river was a lot higher than yesterday. We made a couple of my first time in the Waimak falling in. We had one yesterday. Or 2 of them yesterday. One was kind of both our faults, and then one was definitely Matt's fault, turning into an eddy. He just decided to stop paddling and watch the other person that had tipped over.
Write that down.
And then today we had a clean one in the morning, so we got through all the rapids and everything fine this morning, so that gave really good confidence for us. And then this afternoon we had on our second to last rapid, we got a bit too excited, or I got a bit excited because we made it through, and then I forgot we had to still paddle. Ended up on the upside down and then back on the shore. But it was good learnings. Every time you kind of fall out, it's quite good kind of getting that confidence of reacting to it as well. Like I'm definitely one to kind of get into shock and then be like, right, this is what I have to do, or panic or something like that. But I think definitely over time, learning more when you do fall in, how to just relax, learn what you have to do, grab the boat, and all of that stuff is really helpful as well.
Yeah, brilliant. No, good stuff. So really developing some, I guess it's about relaxing and confidence and paddling hard and all those good things you're learning around lines and things. So we're in November, start of November. We've got officially 100 days to the coast to coast now. So it's going to be double digits rather than triple digits from here on in. What's your next focus? What are you up to in the next wee bit until we catch you next month?
So basically, obviously for me, I'm just trying to now play a little bit of catch up with Matt. Because he's done a lot of training over the last couple of weeks. So it's just more building up those hours again. And then also as well coming into, especially like the end of November, December and January, getting more day trips. So even looking at doing like in the weekends, getting out and doing like Mount Oxford, the Goats Pass, and just doing a bit more, even teaming up. I'm really lucky I've got some friends that do kayaking, so they like to do different things going on the Waimak and stuff. So trying to tee up a couple more of those, obviously to just build that confidence and also build the experience from others.
Yes,
which is quite helpful.
Great, good. So lots of adventures is on the cards for the next month.
Hopefully.
Yeah, fantastic. No, that's so good. And that's the best part of this thing is getting out with a bunch of others, learning something, a completely different new skill out of our comfort zone as an adult, which doesn't really happen terribly often, to go and line up for the coast to coast. And as Kelly Barber said at the start, it's actually one of the key goals of actually finishing the coast to coast is actually getting to the start line. So with the cast off your hand, you're more likely to do that now, aren't you?
Yeah, I really hope that I don't get knocked off my bike or anything like that before I get there.
Yeah, no, you'll be good. You'll be good. Just keep enjoying it and having some fun, as Matt said as well. And I'm sure you'll be good.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well done, Tomo. Well, thank you for sharing. All the best for the next month. Looking forward to hearing some adventures of what you get up to. And we'll check to see how dry the hair is next month as well.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Okay, thanks, Tomo. Take care. We'll catch up soon.
Bye.
Cheers. Good stuff. Well, that's us for the Coast to Coast number 5 podcast as we line up for the Coast to Coast 2021. We're in November now. We're 100 days to race day. If you want a bit of a hand towards the Coast to Coast and get yourself organised, we've got a whole bunch of different training plans and ways of supporting you. So just drop us a line, flick us a message, and we can help you out. And even just have a bit of a chat. More than happy to do that as we go forward. So enjoy your adventures, get out there, maybe put your name on the start list of an event. You'll definitely learn something as a result of doing that, and make sure that you have fun. And we look forward to seeing you next month. From the Team CP and the Kathmandu Coast to Coast, we look forward to seeing you next month. Thanks, team.
It's the best Kiwi event in New Zealand, this.
Crossing New Zealand in 1 or 2 days.
Why do I do it? Because I love it.
Great.